EEBA. What is your last name?
Are these kind of like
Symbols.
Elon Musk's children?
Yes. Good afternoon. It's Wednesday, July 13th, 2022 at 2 p.m. We are in the second floor media room in City Hall. This is the Public Art Committee. I am Joan Jennings, the chair. Megan, will you call the roll, please?
Chair Jennings,
Here.
Vice Chair Robinson,
Here.
Mr. Mules,
Here.
Mr. Jones,
Here.
Mr. Stackhouse.
Here.
And I would like to welcome Robert Stackhouse. As of last night, he was appointed to be a full voting member of the committee. And we have two new alternates, Nick Toth and Eleni Biba Christopoulos. Is that correct? Okay, and Biba is with us today as an observer because she hasn't been sworn in yet. So we're warning her as to what she's getting into. Okay. So we acknowledge our guests. Has anybody have a chance to read the minutes of June 8th?
Yes.
Okay, can I entertain a motion to approve?
I'd like to amend the minutes.
Okay, well, we have to motion and approve first.
Oh, yeah, okay. I move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Okay, now, Graham.
On page 3, there seems to be a spelling error. At the top, it says Mr. Jones stated he looked over the site. That's site spelled S-I-T-E, meaning a place, not a thing he looked at, even though it is.
Got it?
Hmm?
Got it?
Thank you.
Other than that typo, are there any corrections, comments? Okay,
No.
motion to accept as amended for the typo?
So move. Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye, okay, all opposed, passes. Sports field mural project. Bill, you are at the moment dealing with this solo as we have lost your cohort, David
David.
Sallow, yes.
Everybody has a draft of the potential call to artists. So I think one of the biggest questions I had are, do we just want to do the south face with soccer and the east face with tennis, or do you want to try to do the whole building? So I guess that was one of the questions I had before we moved forward. You can see the building there. We also have that small space at the top with the way the architecture is with that structure. I don't know if we want to keep it just on the first floor, or whether we want to do something with that upper level. So those were the two questions that I had before we finalized.
I think you probably want to leave that to the artist as to whether he wants to use both of the vertical faces there, because when I was looking at that, thinking about that myself, I was thinking, you know, if I was the artist, I might make the bottom a goal and the top showing the ball going over
Yeah.
somebody's hands trying to catch it. Or something silly,
Something, yeah.
yeah.
Lucianne,
But I'm sure an artist would come up with something much better than that. So I'd leave him to it.
Lucianne?
I agree, and as for the other question, I say let's go for all of it.
Okay, entire building? Bill?
So that would increase the budget. Does that make a,
No, it's a flat fee.
for 1,000 for the entire building?
Yes,
Oh, I didn't mean that. I thought we were doing tennis on one side and soccer on the other. So,
that would have to be two projects.
2 projects.
Right, that would be a second one. But do we want 2 sides for soccer and 2 sides for tennis, or do we just want
Oh.
a single? In other words, do we want to do the entire building eventually with 2 tennis and 2 soccer?
Uh-huh.
Or do we just want to do, you know, soccer on the one side, tennis on the one side, and leave the other 2 sides?
Okay, going in order
Blank.
again. Lucianne, how do you feel about that?
I have no,
Opinion? Graham?
I would like to see the road-facing side, not simply a single sport, but something encouraging all sport.
Well, we're doing it particular to the field,
Yes.
because we have to, we've already run this past the
Sisler
leagues
was-
that play at the fields.
Sisler's baseball and softball, so that's why, you know, the concession. So that's why the two sports that are at Riverside are football and tennis.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Robert?
I'd prefer one artist doing the whole building, simply because if you bring another artist in at another time, you're liable to get conflicting imagery or some kind of a competition or a color clash or an image clash. I think it would be far more elegant if the whole building was handled as one canvas. And whether that requires more money, I don't know. How many square feet are the four walls of that as opposed to some of the other murals that we've had done for $1,000?
Well, I'd like to remind you that the reason that the fee is $1,000 is because this allows the artist to be considered a limited subcontractor by the city who doesn't need liability insurance.
Right.
So that's why I said it would either, if you wanted to do something more extensive, it would have to be 2 projects.
I still think that it's possible that one person would be really thrilled to do that.
Right, but I'm saying it would have to be broached as two projects in order, at $1,000 each.
But we can select the same person.
Correct.
For both.
Okay,
Right, it's a
I'm-
technicality.
I'm not making myself clear, I guess. I think one person could do that for $1,000.
No, you make
Yeah.
yourself perfectly clear, but they would have to be done, the same artist could do it, but it would have to be considered 2 projects. In other words, 2 walls would be 1 project, 2
Oh,
walls
okay,
would be.
so you've got it restricted to $1,000 per
Exactly,
wall.
exactly.
Oh, okay, all right,
Well, not per wall, per project,
for a project.
right.
But can't the whole building be a project? I mean,
Well, yeah, if you want to only pay them $1,000.
That's what I'm getting at. I think there's people that'd be willing to do that. I mean, it is, how much more square footage are some of the other buildings than this? You know, so you sort of do it square foot maybe as cost.
This is 20-foot, when you look at the front of the building, it's 20 foot across and 8 foot high.
Mhm.
And then you've got 20 foot up top with about 2.5 to
Yeah.
3 foot
Mhm.
with that second tier.
I mean, I think you know, like we did before, you could say, all right, here's, you know, $1,000 to do this building. And the artist can do what they want with it. They could do the front facade, they could do the top, they could do 2 corners or something like that. That would be in their proposal, wouldn't it? Be open to what could you creatively do to this building?
Well, the thing is that if you give an artist carte blanche to do the entire building, and let's say he or she wants to do 1 wall for $1,000, then what happens to the rest of the building? Do you just leave it blank?
Well, they need to design it so the rest of the building works. I mean, we have final say, don't we?
Yeah, we have final approval, but I'm just wondering in terms of getting, you know, proposals from people.
Okay, well, I'm still thinking if you make 2 projects out of it, and you have 2 different artists, you're liable to.
No, we could have 2 artists, that's the point,
two-
Robert, I agree with you.
Yeah.
No, for coherence,
Mhm.
2 artists would be fine, but all I'm saying is that logistically, to keep to this provision by the city,
Mhm.
I mean, they bent over, you know, Mark bent over backwards to find this little loophole, and that's why it's capped at 1,000 plus materials.
Yeah,
So that.
that's fine, yeah.
Yeah, so, because we're trying to encourage young artists. So, you know, we don't want to saddle them with the cost of
There's
getting liability insurance.
One other issue here, getting up to that top spot
Right,
is, could be a liability.
right. But if they're covered under the city's umbrella
Yeah,
policy,
Okay, and this,
you could always use a cherry picker.
A ladder and walk.
Yeah. So, polling the board again, Lucy Ann, do you have any?
I think we should put it out for the whole building, see
Okay.
what we get.
Right.
And
Okay,
and specify that the design should incorporate the whole building.
okay. And that would be $1,000.
Yeah, and if we don't get anything back, we,
And I should also include tennis then too, right?
Yes,
We're doing the entire building, so I need to
right,
include that as,
okay.
And I think, Bill, before we put it out to call to artists, we should probably at least measure each side and,
Right.
you know, just give them all the specs and maybe pictures to go with it so that they can see.
so for the next time, I'll have the pictures, I'll have the size, and readjust this. So that
Okay. All right, can I have a motion to amend Bill's proposal to include the entire building with motifs for football and soccer for $1,000 fee?
So moved.
Okay, second?
I'll
And just,
second it.
just a point of clarification, tennis and football, okay?
Yes.
You have soccer. Soccer and football. Football. My grandson played, okay.
Okay.
So this would be,
So two would be tennis and two would be.
okay.
Okay.
I should know better. Okay,
And I'd almost go soccer on the front and soccer to the left side here, and I'll
Okay.
point that out. And then tennis by the parking area where the tennis courts are and the back,
Okay.
so.
I could see a tennis racket and a big soccer ball.
and a broken tennis racket.
You know, such a nice job was done on Sisler that, you know,
Yeah.
I think we can find someone that's gonna come up with a neat plan for this one, and
Right.
it'll be pretty to see it sitting up on the hill there.
And I would like to personally thank Bill for doing the work to
Oh,
put this together.
yes, thank you. Okay, did we get a second on that motion, Meg?
I second it.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
I'm allowed to now.
Yes. Don't get your hand slapped anymore.
Don't get used to it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any objections? Okay, unanimous. Okay, so we'll revise the call to
Revision
artists
back in
and bring the
August.
revision back for the next meeting. Okay. Okay. Project updates. Okay, Black Heritage Project. I think Diane and I could handle this one. We finally got an email today from Stephen Oliver about his contract. However, I do have a concern because he submitted two images, and the image that he submitted for dodecanese is a lot less substantial than the one I thought we had approved, because the original one, I believed, had panels,
Yes.
and this one is just like a series of pipes. So I sent him an email this morning to confirm. But when are you meeting with Tom Trask?
Tomorrow morning, but he did a good, Stephen did a good job of, you know, outlining the other components of the contract, so
Right.
it has to still be looked at and approved, you know,
Right.
before we go forward, so, yeah, he can easily send us an updated version. I wanted to make sure, though, before we go to contract,
Well, I sent him
that we
an
have,
email. You
the
have to
right-
confirm,
yeah, the things that you approved.
because I know I'm getting senile, so I just wanted to make sure that my memory's intact.
Yeah, no,
We approved the model.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, does everybody's
Which-
memory seem to concur with mine? That it
Yes.
was a series of aluminum panels with the images and the panel across?
And
Yeah.
An artist does have the ability in these things to do some changes somewhat, but with consultation of the
Yeah.
the
See if I can
selection
find it.
committee.
I thought
But to
the
lose the panels entirely.
Yeah.
Was,
Yeah, to.
Step
lose
too
them.
far.
I haven't seen that.
The pipes
I
were
haven't
part of the
seen the
structure
replacement.
though, right?
No, this was the sculpture with the pipes.
Because I know when he had the panels, there were,
That's
Yeah.
that's the new one?
that,
Yeah,
So he's made it
that
more-
does not,
that's the new one?
yeah.
He's made it more minimal and more sustainable.
But to me, I don't know,
Oh, no, that's exactly what he gave us
Yeah,
before.
oh, it is?
Yeah.
With the,
things across the top were open
Right.
to allow for wind
Yeah.
flow,
No,
but
that's
the
what-
panels are there, yes.
okay.
I thought you were
That's
saying
All
that
right,
the panels
okay.
had been
Yep.
removed.
Did he submit a digital image before, or that might be? the
Yeah, no,
difference,
this
too.
is,
more
yeah,
clear.
for some reason I thought it
It's
was,
much clearer.
that's the same thing.
yeah,
Okay.
and I think
Okay.
he was,
He
he
had the two
minimized.
keystones.
Yeah.
Right.
That was on
Yeah.
one of them.
Okay.
Was it?
Okay.
They tried to minimize the, for
Oh, we
wind
went, right, that's right, okay.
mitigation.
All right, so we don't have to do anything about that, Diane, you'll be, okay, to go. Okay, the illuminated art boxes, are we ready to pull the trigger on the next call to artists?
Sure, if you want.
Okay. Everybody okay with that? Because usually we start making the selections in, either the September or the October meeting. And,
Are you gonna put any qualifiers on it, or just leave it open?
well, I have lost hope in ever getting that, anything about that children's art. Have we even gotten one submission? Nothing. There's been no response. Yeah, just to remind everybody, there was a display of children's art at the Cultural Center. And they were really, very well done, and I thought there would be enough to do at least half the art boxes. And everybody was very enthusiastic about it and was gonna send the images in, and we haven't gotten one, so I think we'll just move ahead with the general call.
Could the general call have added to it the art teachers at the local schools?
Well, it's just an open call, Graham, it doesn't exclude them.
No, I know it doesn't exclude them, but could we make sure they get it?
Oh, I see what you mean. Diane, you,
It's kind of hard to do that, but, I can put it out there to the schools, but what they do with it is up to them.
Yeah, I mean, they either respond or they don't,
Right.
but at least we can say we tried.
We don't have any relationship at all with any of the art teachers at any of the different levels of,
We tried, remember? Over at the,
We haven't been able to.
remember
Any
we had that
response?
rather elaborate project with them at Sunset Beach?
Yeah,
that Fell by the
almost.
wayside.
yeah.
yeah, Chief Young and I both met with the principal and everything, so.
We can recognize you.
I do teach in the art department at SPC in Clearwater.
Okay.
I've had made it a project when we had the Smithsonian exhibit several years ago.
Oh, yeah.
She
Would you
needs
come
to
to the
stay
podium?
with the podium.
So I had made it a project several years ago when we did do you remember when that was, or were you not here then?
I think so.
Okay. There's a Smithsonian exhibit, The Way We Work. And
Yes, I remember that.
Oh, yeah.
Right, okay, so I actually had the students at SBC work on that theme, and so they had an exhibit upstairs when the Smithsonian exhibit was going on downstairs. But I know you're talking about children's art, but at the college level, I do have
No, well, no, I mean,
access
students.
to students, to the art departments there that I would be happy to put out there something if
Perfect.
you wanted to make it thematic, if you wanted to,
No, it's just an open call. If you
Because,
seem to-
it might be interesting to think about certain times, I don't know how often y'all update these to make them a more sort of thematic exhibit. Just
Well,
a-
we've been
a
trying to
thought as
do
an
it once a
artist.
year.
Twi-
Okay.
we're
Twice a year?
Twice a year. it's
Yeah,
fine.
now that I think we have the additional panels, we could do it twice a year.
And didn't we have a theme at some point?
I think
tried to.
originally it was kind of like nature, or just, like local flora and fauna, but
I mean, I have heard from the edges of the Greek community that it's not Greek enough. I mean, so,
Yeah.
how does it relate to the sponge docks? And that's an issue of, I mean, a lot of the images do relate to the sponge docks. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, a few of them don't.
yeah.
But it's hard to say that a bird flying across the sunset has nothing to do with the sponge dock.
Yeah.
But it's the way people look at it, and, so I've just heard that those are, I don't know whether they're kind of imposed on them or what.
Well, the thing is that I know that a couple of people objected to the appearance of the solar panels,
Yes, mhm.
and that was, I think, one or two people out of the entire community. So, you're always going to get negative comments, but I don't know what to do. You want to do a Greek theme?
What about-
As I said, I think the majority of them are related to the sponge docks.
Right.
I mean, I think that's the thing, is that they are.
Right, Lucianne?
This may be too specific and too literal, but what about a loose theme of working waterfront,
Oh, that's interesting.
just for one round?
Yeah.
that, I don't know, that may just be too,
Right.
you may get too much, photorealism. I don't know.
Well, you just get a bunch of sponges.
Too many boats, I don't know.
Yeah,
Well, may I?
sure.
Have them enter them in one of two categories, working waterfront, or, natural appearance of the bayous, for instance. Something like that.
Local waterways?
Local waterways, yeah. Give them two things, that they can choose from.
I still say that if we don't go and do an inventory of all the images, you'll find 2 or 3 of them that don't have anything to do with the
Oh,
sponge
no,
box.
Yeah.
I
agree. I've
personally
looked at them all.
like the flying hamburger.
So it comes flying out of Hellas.
So anyway, I just was letting you know that, I could get
Okay, yeah, you could, yeah.
word to, I could put it out there as
Great,
a
that's a great
flyer, as
contact,
a
Biba.
whatever that we could
Yeah.
use. I could make it an assignment, I could do whatever,
Yeah, that's an excellent idea, the local college as well as the schools.
Yes. Okay, so I am going to entertain a motion to do 2 themes for the next round of the art boxes, the working waterfront and local waterways. Does anybody want to make that motion?
I will.
Okay. Second?
I'll second.
Okay, a discussion. So is everybody happy with those 2 topics for the next round?
Sure.
Diane?
Can I just say, when you do that, please try to make them a little bit more specific or write a little description about it, because it is open to interpretation. And so if you want to get good quality, images, it might, I'm not sure everybody will understand a real broad statement. I don't know, just a suggestion.
Well, the thing is, we do want the interpretive nature of an artwork, and we do have, the power of final approval. If somebody goes off the reservation, we just won't accept
I
it.
mean, if we get a picture of gigantic cranes hauling containers, we know that's
Okay.
not what we were looking for.
Our waterfront.
Right,
Well, that'd be kind of cool.
right,
I mean, it is a working waterfront, and,
Yeah.
there are cranes there.
right. Well, you could do a very interesting geometric abstract,
There's,
thing of a crane.
Yeah.
Who is writing this call to artists?
I guess I will.
Okay.
I'm always guilty as usual. Okay. Put my initials next to that. So everyone's happy with those 2? Final vote? No one opposed?
No.
Okay. Okay, here comes the fun one. Diane, name the Pelican.
Wow, we got a whole bunch of responses, as you will
We
see.
sure did.
I put them in alphabetical order. And so once you pick the name, I can go back and see who was the first one to, suggest that name.
We got this many responses?
Yes, sir.
Can we get a donation from each person? That's a big response.
Yes.
That's amazing, really.
I think there's one on the first page that's, can be absolutely eliminated right off the bat, and there's one on the 3rd page that's begins with a J, I think, that can go also. We don't want any.
Oh, I see,
Joe
yes.
Burden?
Yeah. Yeah, we can't do anything political. Thank you very much.
So you
I
can
haven't-
only pick one name, so
Oh,
whatever
dear.
you all decide.
Well, I know what my favorite is.
All right, well, let's each pick a favorite. Lucienne, do you have a selection yet?
Well, I've asterisked several, but I would have to say that my favorite is, toward the end, it's Hara, which means happy. And I don't know, I don't think that XA, PA, those are like Greek letters. So I don't know if we want to anglicize them. What's your take on that, Biba?
Yeah, I mean, somebody would read that as, so this should be an R.
Yeah, and the X may be an H?
Or can it be in both, like the street signs?
Sure.
Yeah, but obviously that Greek letter's not an actual P.
Right, yeah. Right, that's what I'm saying, it would be in actual
The
Greek.
Greek and the, yeah, I like that one just because it's happy.
Bill, do you have any,
Is the Pelican male or female? Because Hada is usually a female name.
It looks like a male.
It does look like a male, it's just,
yeah,
Because it is an actual name used, and it is a feminine name. I know
mean-
that's not necessarily, a thing, but I'm just putting that out there.
I went very simple, and it's just kind of arty, you know? But I'm not gonna lobby heavily for it, it's just the one that,
Yeah,
go
you
ahead.
know.
there are
Which one?
I said
Lot of-
arty.
Oh, Artie, okay.
a lot of good choices.
Okay, Graham?
Rufus.
Rufus. Okay.
Yeah, I saw the dolphin tail.
Okay.
Yeah.
Robert?
I'm disappointed that Bodie McBoatface is not on here.
We can do Pelly McPellface.
No, we can't. It's not on the list. Thankfully.
Still can't get over that.
Oh. I'm a little partial to the, I can't pronounce it. One of the Greek ones. The Greek-American pelican in Greek.
Well, what does it
Spell
begin with at least?
Spell it.
Oh, it begins with an A, I think.
Okay.
Oh, it's one of those things that looks like
Yeah, it looks-
Oh,
Elon
big
Musk's
docs,
child.
right,
ACO big
Yeah.
duck's sake.
right,
It-
I don't get that either, yeah.
yeah. Well, I'm gonna go, I like Panfilo, friend of all.
I liked that one too.
I can change mine to one more. I like Bazooki because it's musical.
The which one, Robert? I'm sorry.
Bazooki, B-O-U-Z-O-U-K-I.
Buzuki.
Oh, there,
The
okay,
instrument, Bazooki,
right.
was,
Okay, so we have 5, all different, of course.
Of
So we've
course.
got Artie, Bazooki, Panfilo, Rufus, and Hapa?
Hara.
Hada. Thank you, Lucia. So we have to narrow these down to one. Okay,
Well, not everyone who visits the sponge docks is, I'm inclined to change to one of the Greek ones, okay? I hadn't even thought of that, because I was thinking, you know,
so let me first, you want to eliminate Rufus? Is that what you're saying?
well, I'm not yet.
Okay,
I'm just talking right now.
okay.
And while hara is interesting, and it would have to be spelled out in both Latin alphabet and in the Greek alphabet in order for people to know what was going on, Panfilo wouldn't have to be. It's kind of the same thing, right?
Well, I guess it could be in the Greek.
I guess it could be in the Greek alphabet,
But it's
too.
just like the street signs, you'd have the Greek and the English next to each other. Does anybody want to eliminate one of their choices?
I can eliminate
Bazooki? Okay. Okay,
Yeah,
and you have,
I'm not totally married to Rufus
No,
either, so.
nor arty. I mean,
okay.
just-
So that leaves the 2 Greek selections, Hara and Panfilo.
Yeah. And that's twice in as many meetings that we've been reminded that we should be more Greek.
Right.
Just to mention that if you look at the amount of times that people put in a particular name.
Right.
That kind of gives you the community buy-in for a certain name too, to consider if you want to.
Yeah, lots of people want Petrus.
Right, that was, yeah. I don't know, ever since I started doing this, I wanted things to be unique and very particular to Tarpon, so I'm still leaning toward one of the Greek names, either Hara or Panfilo.
Oh, Petrus is pretty Greek.
Yeah, but they've gotten,
That was popular, wasn't it?
right, it was the most
That-
popular.
Wow.
Probably the most.
The other thing I keep thinking of is that, if we got 27 entries for Petros, they're gonna start arguing, well, I was the first one to submit it, and, I made it 5 minutes before you did, and that's just, I don't know, guess I'm.
Well, no, that's just,
Dark
we
mood.
just blame Diane.
That's true.
I
Diane's
have the
always-
evidence, so
Right.
Yeah.
I can prove it.
Okay, so one of the Petros entries says, based on the legendary Pelican of Mykonos. I don't know about that.
I don't know about that either. Okay.
Okay, fortunately, we have Google.
Well, I imagine everybody has a legendary pelican.
Podium, please.
I'm asking if I could go up. Yes, there is a large pelican named Petros that circulates on the docks of Mykonos that is very famous. So that's where that came from. There's a lot of Pete's also, which is the same name as Petros. And there is a community member that, everyone knows as Pelican Pete. So I have a feeling that it's very tied to that's the first thing that I would think of because it's such a well tied in thing. But yes, Petros there is an actual pelican, like a real pelican,
Oh, okay.
not a
Still
statue of a
living.
pelican. Yes.
It's still alive, okay.
Well, I don't know if he's still living, but I haven't
Right.
lived there in a while. But
It says Mykonos, Petros the Pelican of Mykonos, is an integral part of the island of Mykonos, and rightfully it has become the mascot of the island. You can get a glimpse of the cute creature as it strolls leisurely in its own unhurried pace through the city's many alleyways. And that's from What to See on Mykonos.
Okay.
I'd just,
Lucian, yeah,
I'd rather see us have our own mascot
yes,
than borrow.
I agree with you. Again, going back to
And
the
I'm
uniqueness.
okay with any of the names.
Okay.
not-
Okay, well, we should take a vote to just make this.
Okay.
Okay.
It was hit and killed by a car in December 1985.
Thank you not, Graham. I'll do an in memoriam. Is that the? Okay, we're gonna take a vote. Lucian,
What-
Hara, or Panfilo?
I'll go with the majority.
But you're with the majority. You've gotta create the majority. Not getting off the hook, lady. Pick
Well,
one.
I support Hara.
Okay. Okay, Bill?
What was it, Panfilo?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Graham? Robert, while he's thinking, what do you have?
Really doesn't.
Hurrah,
What?
hurrah.
Hara? Okay.
How do you spell that?
I never heard of it before, that's why I wanted.
Where is it on here? How do you spell it?
XAPA?
It's in the X's.
It's almost at the end. Very end.
It's been Latinized.
Oh, I see.
We have to work on the spelling. If that comes out.
Okay. Graham?
Xara.
I'm going to go with Hara.
Okay. Well, that's 3-2, because I would have stuck with Panfil, so it's 3-2, so we've got Hara. And Lucianne, you're gonna research that, maybe Biba, you can help her?
spell
Yeah.
'em.
Okay. All right, maybe just write it out and give it to Diane. And Lucianne, you want to just take a look when she,
I trust her.
okay. 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 Back to you, Lucianne, the Safford Gateway Project.
Yes, we got a last-minute communication from a new staff member who is facilities management for the city. And I had asked 3 questions. First, is there any kind of water service available to both the northern and southern sites that we're talking about? And apparently, yes, water can be made available. There are no restrictions in terms of either site that they want us to incorporate into the call for artists. Howsoever, we have what may be a major wrinkle on the northern end. That's the end toward Live Oak. And I had described a flat, sort of elliptical area that is north of the athletic equipment. It's a flat, grassy area surrounded by sidewalks and with crepe myrtle planted not on that ellipse, but across the sidewalk from it. And it just looked like a perfect area. The answer that came back is that may be slated for pickleball or shuffleboard or some other kind of activity courts. And that if we installed something there, they may need to be moved. So, I'm punting until I can meet with this
Okay.
guy. End of this week, early next, and at that point, Diane and I'll confer as to whether we need to go to the city manager, because apparently that's where the decision will be made on these
Right, the courts?
activity courts.
Yeah, okay.
So I don't know if we want to act on this information now and try to promote the idea of
I
of
think we
public
better
art.
wait.
Just wait and see.
I think we better wait, because if we go ahead with something and then find out we can't locate it there, it's kind of an exercise in futility. The one thing, though, a friend of mine was watching one of our meetings and made a comment, just as just something to consider, was Mosaic.
There are some, that can be fabulous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just a thought.
The other little detail on the southern site, which is sort of a ditch,
Right.
but has great possibilities for earthworks. All we have to do there is preserve the drainage
Right.
capability, which I think would be a perfect challenge for
Okay.
an artist. So,
Okay,
until next month.
okay, excellent. Okay, Megan, the budget update?
Yes. So the previous balance was $215,492. The current balance is now $207,967, or I'm sorry, $207,000, $207,967.76. The difference being $7,524.24, which was the overage of the NIAID's repair.
Okay. That's over and above what the insurance covered?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I thought he was sticking within the insurance quote. I guess it went over.
Yeah.
There's nothing we can do about it, okay. Thank you, Megan.
You're welcome.
Tarpon Springs Library, that's deferred. I still haven't heard anything from anybody over there. There's nothing in the hopper for a CRA mural project. The children's art, I think I mentioned, that was under new business, but it's really under old business, so I think we discussed that already. And the ordinance edit review, I've been giving it a lot of thought, and I would really like to stick with the original development benchmark of 250,000. Staff has to crunch the numbers in any event, and at 1%, I don't think this will have a significant impact on anybody's development budget, but I'd like to get everybody's thoughts on that. Lucianne, do you have any?
I completely agree.
Okay, Bill?
Completely agree.
Graham?
I think that we really need to emphasize that the support of public art is part of the cost of doing business in Tarpon Springs. So I agree.
Okay, Robert? Okay. I'd like, oh, Lucianne, I'm sorry, I thought your hand was going up.
No.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to that effect?
So move.
Second?
Second.
And I'm going to take a roll call on this one. Megan?
Ms. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Mills,
Yes.
Ms. Jennings.
Yes.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Mr. Stackhouse.
Yes.
Unanimous. Thank you all. Okay.
And what page is that revision on?
Let's see, they're back here.
I think it occurs in a couple of different
Yeah, I think, yeah, it
places.
comes up a couple of different places. I guess the easiest thing to do would be a, document search, word search.
What's
So
the
it's-
time frame for you to meet with the city manager on this?
I don't think nothing's been scheduled.
I thought that was in July some point. You were trying to,
Yeah.
trying to do that.
I do have a thought about this, and that is that
It's pages 9 and 10, Diane.
Thanks, Graham. Sorry, Lucianne?
the conversation really is policy. And that's clearly it's our responsibility to advise the Board of Commissioners from our standpoint on policy. And I think whatever debate or conversation really needs to include the ultimate policymaking body, which is the BOC.
Right.
So I would hope that that conversation can happen there.
Right. Yeah, but we are sitting here because of our expertise in, in the business of art. And, I think that we also have not only the right, but the responsibility to, make our thoughts and wishes known about this.
We're in agreement. What I'm saying, not very well, is that I don't think this should be cut off at the staff level. I
Right.
think it needs to progress to the,
Right, and
PLC.
using the fact that this is gonna take extra staff time, after I thought about it, I was kind of, why?
We have this-
And I go back to something my late husband said when everybody was running around about the Y2K, disaster. And he just said, it's just another set of numbers. And he was right. And that's what this is. It's just crunching another set of numbers, so I don't see what the,
Well, and a fair amount of time was taken to research what other folks are doing, and there's
Right.
a pretty heavy, number of those communities that 250 is the starting point.
right.
Yes.
And as I said, it's 1%. Robert, your feelings?
It's just that we've got to convince the above staff level that arts are important in Tarpon Springs, and we stand behind that. And
Right.
Exactly
We're
so.
gonna do what we can to make it work, and
Right.
if they, they have to change. Because it can't, it shouldn't stay the way it is.
Well, at the meeting last night, the discussion of the hotel, most of it revolved around attracting people to Tarpon Springs. And art attracts people to Tarpon Springs. It's, and that's why we've been concentrating on the unique art, aspect of what we do here. So I think we put a lot of time, effort, and expertise in every project we've undertaken. And I think it's borne fruit. So I'd like to, get a little support both from, the Board of Commissioners and from the Treasury. So, you know, and as Graham said, it's just integrated in the cost of doing business, support of the arts. So,
It's a community investment.
yes, an investment in the community, by the community. People want to, you know.
I think it's important that we do that. I'm rather hoping that these modifications don't just land flat on somebody's desk without the PAC having the opportunity to explain their thinking, Madam Chair.
Yes.
That's why I asked the question, when is that scheduled meeting? Because I think, you know, we've put some effort into trying to say, these are the things that we feel are very important. And I think we need to
Yeah,
I-
emphasize that.
keep it moving.
Okay, so I guess, you know, I guess Mark's been well over his head, but I guess we could give it a
Well, there's
shot.
been a lot going on in the city,
Really?
so, yeah. We're-
Okay.
A lot of additional meetings, so I'll follow up with
Yeah,
them and
just throw
find
our
out.
bid into the hat for an appointment. Okay, we're moving on to new business.
Before we move
Oh,
on to
sorry.
new business, can we have some corrections to the edited document, the revised document, please? On page 9, at the end of the red
This is the
stuff-
workshop. I just want to clarify because we have so many documents here, right?
Yes, the workshop edited
Okay,
document.
the article, yeah,
Yeah.
the ordinance, okay.
The ordinance, yeah. On page 9, the last sentence of the red stuff
Okay,
says, "This fee must be paid to the final inspection."
Oh.
I would rather it read, "This fee must be paid prior to the final inspection."
sorry. Yeah,
I'm
that
not
is it.
meaning to interrupt you, but you did send those to me, and I did make that, but this was printed before, for the, so
Oh, okay.
all of your corrections were made.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great.
In that case, I'll not worry about it anymore.
Okay. All right, now, moving on to new business, artist registry and artwork registry. Diane, this was something that you and I actually talked about, and I don't know the wisdom of having that artist registry anymore.
Not with calls to artists,
Right.
I don't think, but.
Well, I think you have to remember, a lot of this original wording was done in 2007, before we had, you know, a lot of this stuff on the internet. If you notice, the ordinance didn't even include the submission of digital images, so I think we've moved on past that. So, Lucianne, do you have any thoughts about maintaining an artist registry?
I don't see the need.
Yeah, Bill?
Yeah.
Yeah? Graham?
I really don't think that we can abandon it until the ordinance is changed.
Oh, no, that's, yeah,
But as soon as the ordinance is changed, I think that staff should take full advantage of that word "may" that we put in there
right.
and abandon
That's why
it
it's in
promptly.
there.
It's, the artist registry is a registry of the artworks, of artworks, things like, is there
No,
another?
no, the
No, it's a
people.
Just
people.
the people.
Right, just the
Just
people.
a name, address, and stuff
Right.
of the people.
Yeah.
So we don't have a list of that.
Well, we do, but why should we keep it if we're just gonna be issuing?
Well, is it something that,
False.
yeah, if we do that, is that would that be a service of us to the city of Tarpon Springs, though, that, or is there another organization, you know,
Hey.
Tarpon Arts?
Sorry, are you talking about a list of artworks
Yeah,
or an
no, a
artist?
list of artists.
A list of artists.
Just artists who want to be on the list. So,
Well, there's lots of, like, for instance, there's different organizations that have, like, you know, the chalk artists or the mosaics and everything. So they all have their own kind of associations.
So-
So, you know, if you're looking for a specific media, then we could just go ahead and submit it to them, as well as putting the call to artists out, so that they could go ahead and put it, you know, in, you know, through their membership, you know, to let them know about it. So that also, like, you know, the Creative Pinellas and, you know, the Arts Alliance and, you know, St. Pete and everything, you know, I always send them the calls to artists too, and then they kind of disseminate it to all of their, you know, members. So, you know, it's kind of all works that way. And then, of course, if it's a big project, like the Black Heritage project, then that's on Cafe. So all the artists have access to that, so I don't know if it's worth just keeping a list of artists or not.
Well, yeah, that can be cumbersome.
Well, yeah,
But
yeah.
when we would use it, when would we use it, you know?
Well, that's the point, you know, I think it's just, you know, kind of extraneous. You know, it's, so, anyway, I'm gonna entertain a motion to, eliminate the artwork registry upon adoption of the ordinance.
Artwork or
Artwork or
artist?
Artist registry. And the artwork registry exists and will be continued to be maintained, correct? Okay, so this would be a motion to eliminate the artist registry and upon adoption of the ordinance, or coincident with the adoption of the ordinance. Do I have a motion? No? No?
A motion that we drop the
Yeah,
artist registry.
yeah, okay,
Is that
second,
what I need to say?
yeah. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Bill? Okay, any other further discussion on the artist registry? Lucianne? No? Bill? No?
Such time as the ordinance has been reviewed by the commission.
Okay, is everyone in agreement with that? It's just a time factor? Okay, then that will be tabled, and we'll, excuse me, retain the artist registry. Okay,
With the artwork registry, are we kind of combining that with some of the GIS that we had talked about? Is because that's a place to house where that's located, the value of it. You know, there's tons of information that can be kept there that may make it a whole lot easier to.
If you look at the Excel file, a lot of it is like slides and different things, so there's not a whole lot of concrete installations. I mean, we can definitely plot that on a GIS map for the ones that are physical, you know.
We
kind
have
of
a
thing.
lot of them that are in storage someplace, correct? And so it's just a matter of, you know, it's a database, whether it's kept in an Excel spreadsheet or, but it would let everybody know exactly where it's at and, you know, so it may be something worth looking at, that's all.
Okay.
When I asked you shortly after I joined the committee for an updated version of that, if you recall, you gave me an addendum to it, which didn't contain all of the information that the original spreadsheet had, because I expressed myself badly and just asked for a list of things that had been added since. And so I'm curious as to know whether the registry spreadsheet with all of its all of its stuff in there, like location and that, is actually kept up to date, or is there a sort of separate thing for?
We kind of keep the physical artwork in a database separate from that. It could be added to it, sure,
No,
Yeah.
I'm just asking, not suggesting anything.
yeah. The other one is so huge
Yes.
that, you know, I guess at some point it should be added to it, you know, kind of the physical locations, you know, kind of thing. But, you know, that could be integrated pretty easily.
Yeah, and I think a discussion for another day is the fate of a lot of those works,
Yes.
because of a lot of different, you know, considerations, storage, et cetera.
So does the city not require a regular inventory of those holdings?
We have them, you know, they're there in the database of everything. It's just that there's not enough space to put them all up, you know, kind of
Oh,
thing.
no, of course, no.
So,
Yeah, no, I
Those
mean, there was
all-
discussion about, possibly auctioning them or, doing something like that, depending on what the intent of the donor was. Right, Diane? I'm
Yeah.
thinking,
And they've been donated to the city, so they're actually ours to do with what we,
Okay.
what we want.
so none of them that you're aware of were given with any conditions? Okay. Maybe we should have a big auction
Auction.
party.
Art auction.
Yeah. Lucianne, you're looking pensive.
Yeah, I'm thinking about this in the context of my experience as a museum curator.
That's
and-
right, you're the,
And know that museums, for example, have very stringent accessioning and deaccessioning policies, so
We'd have to
Probably-
talk to
probably needs
procurement about that.
a
Right.
deeper dive.
right, that's why I think it's a conversation for another day. But I just kind of want to plant it in everybody's heads that this is probably something we should be rummaging around up there. I'm going to go out of order here. I'm going to do the Elizabeth Indiano's proposal and get that out of the way before Pat McNeese comes back. Okay, have you all had a chance to look it over?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess briefly, this is a proposal to do a film that I guess could be shown in the cultural center in proximity to the mural. And it's based on Elizabeth's play, This Blessed Earth, This Plot. And there's a picture of the cast. She incorporated a lot of local citizens, including our potential new member, Joe, who is the helmet maker. And I think the price is quite reasonable, and I'd just like to know everybody else's feelings about this. Lucianne, you?
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yes.
Just out of curiosity, how was the play funded?
Elizabeth did it.
She
I-
financed it?
I paid her a fee
Oh, okay, that was
for
Tarpon
the
Arts, it
play,
wasn't us,
for the
right?
play. And then she exceeded that budget and went out and got sponsorships for it. So, over and above what I paid her.
Okay, but it wasn't, there was no public art funds?
No.
Okay. Okay.
So how does the film, I guess, my question is, how does the film differ in character from the play in terms of our interest in funding?
The way that Elizabeth explained it to me was that, it would be like a supplement to people coming to see the mural. And it'd be like, in addition, we had the key there, which, the legend. However, this would be kind of the artist talking about some of the components of, some of the different elements of it and why this is part of Tarpon Springs history. And, explaining, the mural, the process, her vision. And, it's kind of like when Chris Still did the House of Representatives up in Tallahassee, and he did a video on that, and just kind of explained each of those. It would be like her explaining the mural, kind of thing.
Yes, she's incorporating some of the,
Some footage from
From the
different
play?
things. I think she took a lot of video.
yeah.
And
I was involved in that, being one of the volunteers that actually worked on it. And I can tell you that there is a lot more video footage than there was actual playing time. So, yeah, she has an enormous amount of footage,
Okay.
if she kept it all, which I assume she did.
And the budget of this is $6,500 in total, with $3,250 upon acceptance. So since it's under 15,000, we can authorize this directly. Bill, do you have any?
you know, is it something that's gonna be of interest and a real positive for the cultural center with the mural?
I would hope, you know, not knowing the whole content of it, you know, is, you know, it's hard to say, but we did kind of discuss it, you know, when she was talking about it, you know, because I told her that, you know, it'd be nice to get like a little bit of a vision, but also to kind of explain some of the components, you know, in the mural. But I said, you know, I told her, I also cautioned her that, you know, it can't be an hour-long video, because when people come to the Heritage Museum to see our videos, we have a timeline for each of the videos. There's probably about 5 or 6 there, and then the time amount. And, you know, I said it can't be 45 minutes or anything longer, because people's attention spans are short. So it's like, it's got to be like between 20 and 30 minutes at the max. And,
Right.
you know, and I said, it's got, you know, she's talking about maybe, you know, getting feedback from different people that were involved. I says, that's not what people want to hear. It's basically the different history of the Tarpon Springs as you've shown it on this mural, and staying really specific to that, you know, story kind of thing. And, you know, keeping it condensed and then just giving some of her own perspectives.
I wonder if it could be broken down into 2 different shorter videos. One on, you know, like the actual execution of the mural, like from Elizabeth's point of view, and then the other would be an exposition of the characters that are in the mural. I wonder if that would be possible, because then people could have a, you know,
Has
good choice.
she provided an outline of any kind, or has she, I mean,
Not really.
so this is just kind of like a carte blanche, here's $6,500 to do something that can go with the mural?
An educational component, yeah.
So I see here the possible 30 minutes. Are there places to sit?
There could be.
Could
We do that at the Heritage Museum now.
Yeah. Okay, but this is
sure, we'd
something
have
that's gonna
seating.
be, it's gonna be in the room with the mural. And where is that gonna be seen? Is
It
there gonna be a large screen TV type thing? And then are there gonna be seating there? Because
Sure.
it could be dangerous to ask somebody to stand for 30 minutes.
Oh, no, we would
Yeah.
put chairs there. We
So,
do-
but how does it become impromptu? Whenever the mural is open for the public, you would put chairs out?
Or we could leave them there unless somebody's using it for
Have-
something
Have
specific.
folding chairs against the wall or something like that, how would that? And would this, what's the duration of this? How long would this run?
It would be indefinite.
Indefinite, okay, and there's
Yeah, you could
maintenance?
put it on a loop.
Yeah, no, I don't mean that, I mean month-wise, year-wise.
Oh, we keep them there just like all of our videos that we have now at the Heritage Museum.
Okay, so they just run in
It's a
perpetuity, huh?
selection, you know, that people can
We come back
choose
here
what
in
they want to see.
2042 and it's gonna be there.
And hopefully you'll still be able to go to the Heritage Museum and select the one that stars Christopher Still.
Yeah, right.
I've got a 1935 sponge diver one, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have no problem with the concept of it. I think, you know, people would be interested in the specialty. I wonder if there's a way that you could, since there's a guide there for identifying the individuals within the mural, if there could be ways in which it could be a more interactive kind of a program rather than just a standard video film.
That'd
I
have to
think
be
that would
something
be
you
a-
talk to Elizabeth about.
Right, that sounds like an entirely different project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's almost like, you know, like a museum guide with QR codes where you would, you know, activate something on your, it's just like, I went to.
OTC.
Yeah, I went to the, yeah, I'm talking to the expert here. I went to that Sistine Chapel, the panel exhibit, and it was like a PowerPoint that you accessed on your phone, and you know, found a panel, and you went to that thing, and then you got the audio that was specific to that panel. You could do something like that with the characters, but I think,
Elizabeth is out of town right now,
Yes.
so You might want to just ask her to come back to another, explain or talk.
Bill, I think that the paragraph that starts with the word focus really gives an outline of what she wants to do on that second page there. One of the things that concerns me is, okay, so let's say we go ahead and you get the film delivered in digital form, presumably. Then you can load it up on the player in the Heritage Museum, but now Tarpon Arts has to acquire a similar sort of setup for the cultural centre, which you currently don't have. Where's that money going to come from?
From me. For the cultural center. I want to do television over there anyway to loop our shows and things, so.
Right, there you go.
We just
All right,
use the same
That's a great
one.
idea.
Okay. Just,
On my budget.
good.
Stray thought, based
Yeah,
on what I'm
great.
hearing.
As long as
Maybe
it's
it
in
would-
somebody else's budget.
If we approve it and it happens, maybe it'd be good to have a copy over at the museum to entice people to visit the
Sure, that
other
would be
facility.
kind of what we're doing, like what we're doing with the Black Heritage, you know,
Yeah.
take people from point A to point B and back again.
I think
Yeah.
it would be helpful to define the components of the video, though, to keep it on
I
point.
agree.
Right. I kind of like the idea of doing two shorter videos, one that's, you know, the development and the actual painting, which I think is interesting, and then just doing one that's expository about the characters. That seems to make more sense to me.
I agree.
I
See
think
if I
the
can
shorter and more focus, the better.
Right,
Yeah,
Maybe ask her to come to the August,
okay.
yeah, like two of them, a 15-minute explanation of the 26 different elements or whatever it is, and a 15-minute making of.
Right,
I'll see if she'll be back by our August meeting.
okay. Okay. Okay, so that will be deferred to the August meeting, hopefully with some feedback and an appearance by Elizabeth. Pat, you're up. We moved an agenda item, so you've got a clear field here.
I've been before you all in the past. I'm Pat McNeese. I'm a principal planner with the Planning and Zoning Department. And I'm going to give you all some packages. Ms. Jennings, you had picked yours up.
Yes, I have mine with me.
Great, 'cause we'll walk through this and see how you want to do this today.
Okay, thank you. No? Oh. Okay, that one back. Okay. Yeah, I looked at it, I couldn't figure out how to print it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I asked for a copy.
You couldn't figure out how to print it?
Right.
By the way, we can ask for hard copies,
Okay, so
you know.
I had emailed this to you ahead of time. I don't know if you got a chance to look at it. But basically, the city, as some of you know, we did have already one round of workshops on the city's comprehensive plan. We're updating that plan. It's a long-term, kind of a blueprint for development and policy and infrastructure projects, all those things in the city. It's usually like a 20-year plan is what we're looking at. And this is kind of the second round of exercises to kind of get some structured input on the plan. And the memo that I sent out, and that's on the front of your packet there, talks about, lists the focus areas we're looking at, which are craft your community, preserve and prosper, and strategic service. So the exercises kind of stem from those focus areas. Probably two main documents that we're looking at that kind of guide this and are providing a baseline for this is the strategic plan. The city's strategic plan that's been underway for probably maybe a little more than a year now. That's really providing a basis for this. And that's on the second page of your memo. It lists those areas, those guiding principles that are guiding our comprehensive plan update. The other things listed on here are the elements that are required by the plan on the first page, some of the optional elements that we're thinking of adding. We already have a historic resource element, so that could be expanded to a historic and cultural resource, more of a historic and cultural preservation element. And then we're required to have public schools, but we're thinking of expanding that to like a lifelong learning, more of a lifelong learning element, and perhaps an economic element. So we have 3 exercises today that our consultant kind of developed in conjunction with staff. And the idea is this board, doing it in this session, if you want to work through the exercises today, or at least give a look at them and discuss them, you can do that because you're in the sunshine. If you want to take them with you and bring them back, you can do that, but you can't discuss amongst board members, as you know,
Right.
outside the meeting setting. So that's the idea of going through these. So if you'd like, we can touch on what each exercise is
Pat,
and
excuse
see
me,
how you want to do this.
could you just give a brief explanation of equitable economic prosperity?
That would be an economic development element, is
Oh,
what
okay.
they're usually called. And we don't have one. That would just be more of a plan for policies, perhaps city projects, city initiatives, those types of things that would look at the economics of the city, jobs, businesses, training needs, workforce needs, housing needs, all those kind of things coordinated with the other elements that we have. So if we were to do that, and that would probably take a little bit of extra funding. Our current consultant doesn't really have that in their scope, but we are looking for grant funding for perhaps an economic element. Yes,
have
Ms. Robinson.
Question, comment, following optional elements are proposed for the Tarpon Springs plan. The first one, historic and cultural preservation. I wonder, is that where public art fits? Because we're not quite preservation oriented, but
No, and it could be, it could be called, doesn't have to be called that, so these are kind of draft. But yeah, it could fit there. Probably that's the most appropriate place it would fit.
we've expressed interest here and to you as well, I think, of having public art integrated
Yeah.
more into the whole fabric of city activity.
Yeah. And I think, I'd have to look, but I think the element that we have now is called historical resources element or something like that. So the idea with this would be to expand it to, cultural, whether it's, physical art events, initiatives to, I don't know, expand those types of things.
Well, I think
That could be-
initiative is a great word, that we're not just preserving
Yes.
something that's already here, but initiating.
Okay, that's a good idea. We should probably come up with as we go along, come up with a creative name for that element then. So, all right, so if you want to, we can just go through the exercises. Okay. All right, so the first exercise really is just a survey. that's crafted around those 3 focus areas. And by the way, you need to be sure to put your name on each of these exercises on the front. So we have, so we can kind of check the box that each board participated. And we're doing this with all the advisory boards, so. Some boards take it with them, some boards, we had one board, Heritage Preservation, sat and just did the whole thing, like over, an hour and a half and talked to each other. I don't know if you guys want to do that. But if you have questions, now, I will say, if you're going through the survey and you have questions for us, like they asked on question 3, one of the choices, allow tiny homes on wheels. Well, they were like, well, what is that? What's a tiny home on wheels? And we talked about that a little bit, basically under current building code and stuff, it's really an RV. But, if there were something allowed like that, would that be something you're interested in, things like that? If you have those sorts of questions and we're no longer in session and you're doing this on your own, you can contact us. You can give me a call. I'll be glad to talk through, those questions if you want to do that. That's mostly what we did at HPB, was kind of answer those questions.
Pat, would we have to go through the switchboard, or do you have a direct dial extension?
I've got a direct, and I'll leave you each with a card. It's got my direct line on it. Okay, so moving on, would you like to talk about exercise 2?
Can I just ask
Okay.
one question here, Pat, about, I think just following up with what Lucianne was saying about we'd like to have art really become part of the consciousness of this whole thing. And I'm just looking on page,
Thank you.
the following page here. No, it's in the exercise, page 1, the very first one, land use. You have here home office. And that's somebody being able to work from home. Now, what if that person was a ceramicist and had a kiln?
Yeah.
That, so the whole part about art as a business as well as anything else, how do we get that in? Because that doesn't really cover,
No,
it doesn't cover a studio, a home studio, a home art studio, which I assume most people here have art studios in their homes. I mean, I have one that's not in my home. It's very expensive.
yeah, and I'm trying to remember where. Okay, so and that might go to the next exercise partly, but that would be still a home occupation. So I guess none of these exactly cover that, but anything you're doing in the home like that takes up a room or something like that, but it's not a, right now, under current code, it's not a business where you have people coming to buy stuff and you're distributing stuff and you have 3 or 4 employees and they're working. If you're just doing it yourself and then you're taking it to, I don't know, a market or an event to sell it, or you're just selling it online, those are home occupations that are allowed right now. Now, so that would be like a home office. It would be covered under that. We also have live work, which is allowed under the Transit Code, and that is also, you're asked to comment on those in this exercise too. But we have a live work unit, which is, say somebody's doing something bigger, like metal work or I don't know, I'm not an artist, welding or something. Maybe they have a more of a warehousey, big space downstairs, they live upstairs. That's a live work.
All right,
So-
the reason I bring that up is St. Petersburg has 2 artist enclaves in which the public, the homeowners within that enclave had to vote for this particular ordinance to allow home studios. And these are mostly studios which include volatile materials, glass blowing and kilns
Yeah,
and.
okay.
and, but even home workshops, you know, just a table saw in a garage.
Yeah.
If before these enclaves were even processed, a neighbor could complain about them and that person would be forced to close down.
Right,
Because there was no ordinance that said you are allowed to do that.
yeah.
Right, specifically allowed to do that. And so we keep getting, I think as this gets honed down, if the words around art making can be more specifically placed into this, and the word art is included into the language of the city of Tarpon Springs, I think it'd be much more clear and beneficial. I mean,
Okay.
this is not the time to go through that, I guess.
Well, but these are good comments, and this is kind of what we're looking for from you all. And, there will be another round after this as well. So,
Yeah, another consideration is, somebody that has a business that's by appointment, say an accountant or somebody, of that sort, where, there's
Yeah.
an implication of a very limited traffic.
that's exactly right. So even like a tutor,
Right.
will have one
Piano
child or
teacher.
two children
Right.
one day, and then that's it. Things like that. So that's actually allowed now, but
Right.
yeah, that's the idea, but, so that's great.
If I can expand a little further on
Okay,
what Robert was saying, I'm by no means an artist, as in the sense of artist, but one of the things that I do for fun is I build theater sets. And this involves using power tools and lumber and plastic pipe and sometimes metal and other things, And I do all this in my garage. And fortunately, my neighbors are, mostly up in Illinois or New York, and so I don't have to worry about them.
Yeah.
But if I lived somewhere I live in a low residential area, but if I lived somewhere denser, that might cause problems. And one wonders what this home office definition really is, because I think of it as my home shop. It's
And
my
I
home
guess
workshop.
that is a problem for me in answering these questions.
Yeah.
There is such a range of possibility
Yeah.
that it's, some would be very, very happy and some would be not at all.
And one of my neighbors does a lot of work with materials. She creates pieces of art with material. And she has in her garage.
Fabric art.
Fabric art,
Right.
yeah. And she has this enormous cutting table and some sewing machines and other, giant presses and things like that. And sometimes she makes a god-awful amount of noise, and sometimes she's very quiet about it.
Yeah.
But, we live and let live
Right.
where we are.
Right.
and it might be like defining what the
Yeah,
impacts are, like there's some obvious ones, like the guy who is, doing car body work on a special cars in his garage, banging, painting, noxious fuel. Okay, that's an easy planning. Can't do that in a residential.
Right.
And then it's usually boils down to smell, noise, and noise outside of the, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Not really the during the day. Yeah, it usually boils down to things like that. So it could be that we work with you all on
Well,
where to
it
go
comes
with
down to
that.
Complaints, really.
Yeah.
I mean,
It does,
that's what it is.
but
It
once
comes
the
down to
people
complaints.
complain, it'd be nice
I
to
don't want a
have.
car body shop next to me.
Right, so it'd be
I mean,
nice to have that.
When I lived in St. Pete, I had a boat making thing, and I had
Yeah.
fiberglass smell coming in all the time. But-
Right.
But
So-
I think I think what we're trying to say is that as a committee, as a public art committee, is we're trying to just get more of a consciousness of art as part of the inclusion into the way Tarpon Springs talks about itself. And,
Okay.
So, you know, and a lot of these issues don't come up until they come up, and then there's no solution for them, or it's a conundrum or something like that. But I think we can be ahead of the game because, while we have all this, I mean, we have all these ordinances from all over the state now, and there's a lot of examples of how people have dealt with this, mostly through experience, you know,
Yeah.
in an adverse way.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, I have a neighbor that's obsessed with leaf blowing.
yeah, well, there you go.
And I do mean obsessed. I mean, she leaf blows her driveway
Yeah.
like 4 or 5 times a day.
Right, okay.
But, you know, a city also has codes, you know, and that, you know, so the codes are the ultimate overriding thing for this, but. you
I know,
But how many times do we all, each one of us, come up against a code?
I know, yeah. That's, so, okay, so let's take a look at the other exercises, and then we can see how you wanna go through. So exercise 2 is kind of, I think, the fun one. It's got stickers. So for exercise 2, it's called infill development types. Okay, so if you flip to that first page, you'll see 5 context areas covering the city. And the city is pretty well developed, right? There is a fair amount of vacant land, but a lot of that is in lots that are infill lots. And even downtown, uptown at Sponge Docks and that, has a fair amount of vacant property still. It's you know, kind of surprising when people come. But out west of the bayous, there's a fair number of lots and properties that are still vacant, although people are, you know, kind of trying to come in and buy up those lots. We get calls, you know, in the last year all the time for lots that nobody wanted to deal with for one reason or another. Yeah, it's too skinny. It's got a old city pipe under it. I mean, there's everything. Now they're trying to figure out how to develop these lots. So the idea is to look at the infill of these lots in the context that we are going to have more people moving into Tarpon Springs. We have a population projection increase in the next 20 years or whatever of like 5,000 people. That's what Bieber, the University of Florida Bureau of Economic and Business Research does population. And they look at the past and they project. Okay, so sometimes they're over, sometimes they're under. Pinellas County, as you guys know, it is pretty, when you look at the Bieber line, it's pretty much flat because it's theoretically built out. Well, it's, you know, there's a lot of redevelopment going on, and there's some infill and different ways that people are trying to create more units. So we do expect a population, whether it's 5,000, 3,000, whatever it is. The question is, you know, how do we accommodate it? Obviously, we have proposals for remaining vacant lands that are in the city for subdivisions. We've had a couple in the past couple of years. You know, we just had a Cary Apartments bill, obviously the one up on 19, that a lot of people don't like is proposed. So there's this, you know, apparently market for units. So how do we do that? One of the ideas is to look at infill of different types of residential. And if you go to that next page, you'll see the residential here in neighborhoods. If people were going to infill and accommodate more units, how would they do it? The first one, accessory dwelling unit, we do have a code that allows it. It's pretty restrictive. That could be loosened a little bit or changed for the mother-in-law apartment or the, you know, the aging parents or whatever. So that would be an example of one. And then the rest of these are other ones. If you were looking in your neighborhood and thought, well, the paired villa, it's like a duplex, but it's a paired villa, you know, that sort of thing. What would I be okay with in my neighborhood? That's what that's looking for. And what we're asking you to do is take those stickers that match these pictures and take each of the context areas, and don't worry too much about exactly what street or any of that. Just take, you know, west of the bayous, what would I want to see over there? Maybe accessory dwelling unit and, you know, a paired villa, or maybe I'm okay with, you know, a fourplex or something in a couple of spots. So that's kind of what that's getting at. And then we have commercial and mixed-use infill stickers. That's on the other side here.
Pat, can I?
So we have different categories of that.
Can I interrupt before
Yeah.
you leave residential? Being a little contrary here,
ahead.
why is it a foregone conclusion that we must accommodate greater density?
Well, there is no foregone conclusion that we must accommodate greater density. There is a expectation that we plan for more people. So we have the density right now to accommodate way more than 5,000 people on the books now. The density assigned by land use and zoning that's on our future land use map is more than enough to accommodate 5,000. Remember, 5,000 people is, I forget the latest, 2.3 something people per household. So what does that come out to? I don't know, 3,000 households, 2,800 households. We have enough density on the books right now, not, you
Under
know.
current zoning?
Yeah. you
R100s,
know, give you-
R70s?
Yeah, under the current zoning, but not that every, that's assigned to properties. So we just ran one at the board last night, which you guys will probably see at some point, Cypress Trails, that on paper, when you look at their acreage, they got 120 units of density assigned, right? Well, they can't build 120 units because of the wetland or whatever. They're building 98 or so units. They can't fit that. So, yeah, just so it's assigned doesn't mean that you can fit it. But yeah, you know, there's no foregone conclusion that we will raise density unless there are certain areas people want to raise density in.
And yet, this says, you know, which of these denser sorts of developments would you like to see in each of the areas? Am I not understanding that?
I guess if we wouldn't like to see it, we don't put the stickers on the map.
I'm putting none of the
Yeah,
above.
but good example, like west of the bayou, most of that is on the future land use map as something called residential low. The density is 5 units per acre. Okay? If you were to go into most of these subdivisions, they're way under 5 units per acre. So if you were to if some neighborhoods, and there is a question in the survey whether you think neighborhood plans would be a good idea for some neighborhoods. Some neighborhoods might be fine with doing different housing types, and then overall, they would end up being still under 5 units per acre. So you might be able to accommodate in a policy and in a land development code that's crafted to, control, yet let, you know, those types of units that people would be okay with. So it's just kind of a exercise to see what you're comfortable with, and then how we get there is, the devil's in the details type thing, you know, is something we would look at later. But we don't want to go through all those details if people really say, nah, maybe accessory dwelling units and that's it, nothing else. We might get that, or we might get, you know, something different. One thing we had a lot of feedback on, kind of moving to the commercial, is, or a lot of comments, is this idea of the neighborhood commercial corner store. Well, what is that, you know, and do we really want a corner store in our neighborhood? We could limit that, and that's one of your choices here. But you know, we had different questions. Well, would it be like a convenience store and it'd be open all night? People would be hanging out? Well, yeah, so you'd have to address that, right? Or would it just be, you know, something that's not that intense? You know, and
What's the
if
difference? I'm
yeah.
sorry, what's the difference between the accessory commercial and the corner store? I mean, can they both be the same? I mean,
the accessory commercial,
the accessory commercial looks
yeah. that-
changeable to me.
Yeah, that, I think what they were getting at there was more of like a live-work unit, really. Yeah, so it would be somebody, so it would be more intense commercial.
Somebody's house and a store on the corner?
Yeah, kind of
so-
thing. Yep. So, yeah, in fact, it's kind of a transition here. And they do have live work there too. The pop-up commercial obviously is just, you know, something that's set up on the sidewalk that day or something. And then they transition to commercial with the living unit, like retail or whatever, and then a corner store. And then live work is not just retail. That's what you were describing earlier, more like the artist studio type thing. And then small urban footprint grocery, I can't remember. Everybody knows what these, like there's a mini, not like a mini Publix, but there's a Publix product that they will do a small, and I can't
The
remember where.
marketplace?
Yeah, I can't remember where there is one,
I used
but,
to call them delis back home.
yeah,
Where they'd have like a mix of, you know,
yeah.
a little bit of everything.
Deli and, then, yeah, some shelf products you could buy, yeah. So that, and then,
Anything from
the mixed use, you guys are kind of familiar with that, like, Dunedin has that with, is it Nature Patch or Whole Foods, one of those, and then apartments on top, something like that. And then the conventional shopping center, like Manatee Plaza. So that's the residential and commercial. The 5 areas, just to make sure we understand what those are. Number 1 is west of the bayou, number 2, north of the river. 3 is the downtown, and I call this kind of uptown, but old uptown, but that's downtown. 4 is the 19 corridor. So that's kind of an area itself that we might want to look at. We don't have any kind of special or any kind of guidance on just the 19 corridor. So maybe we want something. And then east of 19, which we don't get a lot of feedback on. The poor east of 19 people. So, yeah, we don't get too much from that one,
So-
but,
So in all of these things, we're not including lodgings.
Hotels?
For
Well, both
in-
hotels,
B&Bs.
B&Bs, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where would we like to allow those? You know, assuming, of course, the city does license them, so.
yeah. And this one's really an infill exercise, so probably hotels would not be in this exercise. But, yeah, bed and breakfast, you mean actual bed and breakfast, that is something, yeah, we would appreciate maybe a comment on, if you have comments on that. Right now, the code allows bed and breakfasts in a historic, contributing historic structure in a
Only?
historic district, and that's it.
You mean
Really?
not outside the historic districts?
No, because then it wouldn't be contributing. If, I'll have to double check the code. As far as I know, well, we don't have any national register
The Greek-
residences except the Safford House, I
About
guess.
Airbnbs, aren't they kind of secretive? I mean,
Okay, short-term rentals, that, you know, that is something that we do have regulations on. The preempted the ability of local governments to regulate short-term rentals such that, this was a couple years ago, and they keep bringing it back to the legislature to modify it, but it never makes any traction. So they preempted it to the state, and they said, cities, you can keep what you've got on the books and continue to regulate with that, but if you change anything, your whole regulation goes away and you have to allow them. So we've never touched our code. It's not a great code, but if we touch it, the whole thing goes away and they're allowed pretty much everywhere. Our code prohibits them in most places except the downtown. Like all this area west of the bayou, they're prohibited. Now, do people do it? Yeah. But unless somebody complains to code enforcement and they get caught.
Play it again.
Yeah, the complainer, that's right. Okay, so that's
I know one of
exercise
these.
2. You want to take a quick look at 3?
Yeah. I think most of us would probably like to take these home.
Okay.
Does anyone want to stay?
Well, the conversation's good. If there's, anything else you want to let me know, we can do that. And then you could still take them home. Exercise 3 is transportation, walking, biking, and transit. The idea with this exercise is to look at these maps. So we've got a map showing existing and planned proposed trails, sidewalks, bike trails, stuff like that. The proposed is what's in our comp plan now. The last time this was updated was 2007, or maybe later than that. But it's kind of old stuff. So as you can see, there's even a canoe trail on there. But there's a community trail that's shown going around the bayou up here, that things like that aren't actually there, but they're in our comp plan now. So that's that gives you kind of an illustration of where everything is now and what the plan says we should have. So that's what we're looking to update. And then this next section gives you some information on the Vision Zero, which is, a vision for no traffic fatalities, especially bike and pedestrians, which we do have a lot of in Pinellas County. We're a high accident bike pedestrian county. And complete streets, and this is just a kind of a heat map of where the most
Like stay away
accidents are.
from 19, huh?
Yeah,
Really?
Right.
Death Highway?
Yeah.
Mercy.
and then the next one, and these are some of your boards, that just gives what's in the plan now and what some of the current routes are, transit routes, Jolly Trolley, and what's in the plan right now as far as transportation goes. So the idea is to take, there's 3 sheets here, one for walking, one for biking, and one for transit. The idea is to just put a number on these areas that you think need more connection. Any area that you think needs more connection. These are really thick. So if I think that I need a better connection to Tarpon Springs Middle School and where it is, I might stick a number here. Then the idea is to go to the back and write your note corresponding with that number, what it is. We need to infill a sidewalk here, we need to fix one, we need a bigger one, we need a bike lane or whatever like that. Could just be your neighborhood, could be other areas of the city that you're familiar with, or you might even say, how do I get up here on the trail? Just put a number and a question mark. I really, even if you don't know specifically what it is, just the ideas, as far as the connections go, what you're looking to do when you're out and about in the city. So that's the third exercise. The information boards that are referred to in all these exercises are here, and then the transportation ones I just showed you. So those are all labeled with information board, A, B, C, D, and one down in the corner.
Like the coastal high-hazard area.
So, yeah, that would be Board G. So that's
Yes.
Information Board G. That's coastal high hazard over most of the city.
Yeah.
So- So those are the exercises. So, yeah, what we're looking to do is have you fill these out, put your name on them. You can drop them off at City Hall. Would be great, or next time, when's your next meeting?
Not till
Come on.
August. Do you have a deadline?
I think we have a deadline of like, well, I mean, you know, end of July-ish or 1st of August, I guess.
Yeah,
is
then
probably-
before the meeting then. Because we
Yeah.
meet the second Wednesday. So we'd be in August.
I think that would be okay if you brought them back then or before. I'll send out an email. They didn't give me a
Agenda
deadline.
guy.
I didn't think of that. But, yeah, but we would really appreciate your input, because the other thing, not just because of the Sunshine Law, but you guys and these other boards, you're very involved with city business. You see people, you see developments, you see projects, you know, and everyone has it. I mean, you got Board of Adjustment, they are just itching to change their rear setback in zoning, because everybody needs a variance to, you know, I mean, everybody has a different perspective. And they see a lot of citizens come before you, so you get a idea, you know, of some of the issues in the city. So that's the other reason that we want to get your input. And then the next step after this will be, we'll be coming back with some,
Yeah, there we go.
basically, you know, start to work on the language, the strike-through underline language of the comprehensive plan, and start to work through that with you all. So, do you have any other questions or discussion?
Yeah, we show up on Board L.
Yeah,
If-
we certainly do.
Okay. I don't think I've looked at Board L lately. There you go.
Is a Division of Arts and Historical Resources.
What's that?
On Board L.
Yeah, I remember seeing this online and had questions. Those venues are not necessarily public art, but Tarpon Arts or the Cultural Division, are they not? I mean, that didn't seem quite right to me.
It says operates and manages 4 venues for performing arts.
That's Cultural and Civic Services Department. Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
not public art per se, it's the
So these are two
Diane's
separate.
department.
It's kind of under, public art is kind of like under that same department, you know, kind of thing. That's why we have public art on our website and things like that, I
But
guess.
this looks like all of that is under public art.
I wasn't involved in there.
Okay, yeah, I mean, we can certainly correct that. I'm not sure I'm following what you're saying.
You could
way
have
I-
It
public
should
art
be
and Tarpon
under
art.
performing arts or,
Well,
cult-
Tarpon Arts is its own entity, so it would be Tarpon Arts and Public Art.
They're two separate.
right, yeah, so public art is kind of a subject matter. So what should I call it instead of just public art?
Well, Public
Public
Art and
and
then add
performing
another
arts?
heading for Tarpon Arts, right? Is that too much of a breakdown?
I mean, so this is being used for all the boards. So if it said Tarpon Arts, would they know what you're talking about? Am I saying public and performing arts? You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, they may not know. I mean, I think most of them do, but
Think of
Exactly.
public art as a
It's
thing.
the organization
kinda
chart is
roll up
wrong.
You know, it's a thing, where performing arts
Through that.
yeah.
may not be a thing.
Well, the arts are visual and performing arts, so,
Yeah, so I'll just try to reword that to, because we want to capture all of it.
are
Yeah.
you grouping them by department or by just general statements? I haven't
general
seen it.
statements.
Okay.
So I think, yeah, this sheet is, yeah, related focus areas, okay.
Should be cultural.
Okay, yeah, I will check back with the consultant on that, so. To,
I think, Pat, to be clear as an organization chart, the big title, instead of saying public art, should be City Department of Cultural Services, right, Diane?
Cultural and civic services, yeah. so,
Is the big,
Heading, yeah. Cultural and civic services, yeah.
okay. Yeah, they do have this one, okay. Okay, good enough. Is there anything else?
A lot of good information.
Gave you guys a lot of homework.
Fantastic.
Yes. But I think it is going to be homework.
Yeah.
Unless somebody really feels strongly about
I need to digest it.
sending out for pizza.
Okay.
No, when I was looking through this on, from the email that I was sent, I was, I obviously couldn't print it because I don't have a printer that does this.
Yeah,
And it was very difficult to follow. And now I've got this, it's going to be a lot easier. But it's going to take more time than just
Yeah.
chatting with these folks.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay, yes.
I have one more suggestion. I don't know if it's appropriate, but under partner events, since we're involved with the arts, I think the Chamber of Commerce's Fine Arts Festival every year
Okay.
is in fact a partner event with the city. We
That's
use
true.
Craig Park and get a lot of city support for that festival, which really does represent a city commitment.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Great. Okay. Anything else? All right, well, thank you very much. Thanks,
Thank you.
Diane and Megan, for your patience and
No
letting
problem.
us come to your meeting.
Now, hopefully
we will
something
circle
very
back with
positive will
you.
come out of it.
Yeah, if you haven't been on Connect Tarpon Springs to look at the, do you guys all have that link? Okay.
Okay.
That's just it. I'll just hand these out. So, you can get updates about the comprehensive plan on there.
Thanks, Pat.
All right, thanks.
Staff committee and public comments?
What?
Staff committee and public comments?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
If there are no, are there any comments?
Yes.
Oh, okay, Graham.
Okay, I always have one, you know that. It's actually more of a question for staff, really. Does there exist what in the accounting world we'd call a detailed P&L for the Public Art Fund?
Thank you, Pat.
Since its inception?
I'm not sure.
Showing the money's going in, or a source and application of funds, sometimes called that. We're showing the money's coming in, where they came from, and where they went since the program's inception in 2007.
I'm sure our finance department has that.
Yeah. Who would I write to and ask for it?
I guess.
Is that Keith Haring?
Ron Herring.
Ron Haring, sorry. I always call him Keith for some.
Did you say Keith Haring?
Yeah.
Ron Herring.
I'm in my
How do I
arts
spell
mode.
that?
Harring.
Looking at his work, actually.
He's the finance director.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the next meeting is on Wednesday, August 10th, 2022, at 2 PM here in the City Hall Media Room. And the meeting is adjourned. It is 3:54 PM. learned a wonderful thing at the BOC meeting, that you don't have to entertain a motion to adjourn unless somebody vigorously objects.
Or a motion to extend.
Be quiet.
I don't know, how many of those did they have last night?
Oh,
Okey-dokey.
I don't know.
At least a dozen.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Oh,
Went
do we
that
need to
late
get
last night.
down to?
Oh, we got it.
Did you see any of that?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Jeff.
It went on.